On YouTube, there is a certain genre of movie scenes where all the movie clips in popular films are shown. By the way, quite interesting content. So, the modern film industry, with its numerous lapses, is just nervously smoking on the sidelines compared to our official history. The main and perhaps the most fantastic statement of modern historians is simply a blatant discrepancy between the knowledge and technology of that time. Firstly, we are assured that, for example, 4,000 years ago, quite a few people lived on Earth, not like 7 billion now. But all these small peoples again, according to historians, did nothing but erect megalithic structures, which according to the most conservative estimates, would take thousands of years of manual human labor. Today, I would like to tell you about the so-called lunar city, which is located in the state of Illinois in the USA. Here, as always, the theory of scientists has so many movie sins and plot holes and quotation marks that Hollywood would envy. Moon City, or Cahokia, is a so-called ancient Indian settlement located in the U.S. state of Illinois. Notable features of this ancient city were a large number of earthen mounds. At the time of their heyday, there were at least 120 of them, but less than 80 have survived to this day, since many of them have been leveled for modern needs. These mounds are located 15 kilometers northeast of the modern city of St. Louis in the heart of the eastern United States. I'll leave the coordinates in the description. According to scientists, Cahokia was founded by ancient Indians around 650 AD. These tribes did not have a written language, so archaeologists cannot say exactly what this city was actually called. The main attraction of Cahokia is the so-called Monk's Mound, 30 meters high. And then the most interesting thing begins. According to the official statement of the learned monks, the mound consists of 622,000 meters 3 of soil, and the mounds of this city that have survived to this day have a total volume of 1,600,000 meters 3 of excavated land. And these are only the ones that have been preserved. It is believed that thousands of workers have been manually creating these giant mounds for several decades. The world's ancient technology after all. At that time, everyone was building like that. Decades or even centuries. They didn't build houses for themselves, didn't do agriculture, didn't devote time to children, but only dug, dragged and poured. And all this, according to scientists, is only for the sake of the gods. The statement with 1,000 Indian builders is far-fetched, to put it mildly. The population of the entire planet, according to the same official estimates, at that time should have been about 300 to 400 million people. On the American continent, for example, the Inca Empire in its heyday was supposed to be from 15 to 40,000 people. And this is the total number in all cities. And here there is only one city, and does not belong to the Inca in any way. It follows from this that the population of this tribe was even smaller, because the so-called Inca Empire was the most numerous. Where do thousands of builders come from? It also turned out that limestone slabs, bald cypress, and red cedar were used in the construction. The layers of the pyramid are made of local soils mica, which is absent in this area. But there are such soils in the southern Appalachians and in the state of Indiana. And they are only there and nowhere else in the vicinity. What a misfortune. Independent researchers estimated that in order to build such a structure, the Indians needed 13 million adults and men at all, each of whom had to go at least 4 times for 400 kilometers back and forth with a shoulder basket. And by the way, Why separate the soil from each other with mica layers at all? It looks more like a technological application, and certainly not a ritual one. Archaeologist Timothy Poktot notes the following. The Acropolis itself is oriented to the northernmost point of the moon's ascent to the sky. Apparently, the builders specifically adhere to a 53-degree deviation from the north-south axis, and then expanded the mound, and built ceremonial buildings and temporary housing on it. A large number of buildings and earthen forms oriented to the same angle cannot be just a coincidence. Emerald was a place where people themselves adjusted themselves to the movement of the cosmos, and especially the moon. Didn't have a written language, so they poured pyramids with an accuracy of 53 degrees studied space, and had no written language. This is the most egregious plot hole of this whole story. Scientists also claim that the whole city was built like a grid, with a deviation of 5 degrees from the north. Amazing Indians. They can't read or write, but they know the cosmos, degrees and so on from and to. Just look at the drawings of this ancient city. Full dissonance. A tribe of aborigines and nearby huge geometrically correct mounds, which they could not fill out at that time. The scientists also found traces of a paved road over 45 meters wide, with drainage grooves on both sides. For what needs was it necessary to pave, and in general to make a road 45 meters wide? And this was all done by the ancient Indians? When Columbus discovered them to the rest of the world, they were not much different from the Papuans. And here are pyramidal 30-meter mounds, by Tiucan a 45-meter wide road, Mayan solar observatories, a lunar city, and so on. And by the way, an amazing fact that no one pays attention to. Pyramids all over the world, and they exist in absolutely every country, including Russia, were built exclusively for the worship of ancient gods. And as I understand it, scientists believe that in those days all peoples had one god who demanded a single architectural style from his servants. So that everything was, so to say, the worst. In my opinion, these pyramid mounds, as well as pyramids around the world, were built for completely different purposes than scientists assume. These are clearly some kind of technological objects built by obviously non-aborigines with primitive tools. There is something more hidden here. For example, the British mathematician John Legend, conducting numerous calculations of the length of the faces and bases of the pyramids, their volumes, areas, and even the distances between the pyramids, found strict patterns of multiplicity of series of numbers. In particular, the ratio of the perimeter of the base of the Pyramid of Cheops to its height is equal to the number 2 pi. Based on this fact, scientists conclude that the pyramid serves as a cartographic projection on a scale of 1/43,200 of the northern hemisphere of the Earth. Also, according to one hypothesis, the pyramids may have been the most powerful generators that were able to convert negative energy into positive. There is also a theory that the pyramids are observatories, so they are actually focused on different celestial objects. In general, there are hundreds of versions and they all sound more or less plausible, but the version with illiterate aborigines who built them from a fool for once or twice for worship, it is unclear to whom, does not stand up to any criticism. Why such an exact symmetry? Why such sophistication? And where does the knowledge actually come from?